I was 23 years old when I learned that death doesn't always bring peace. Sometimes it brings war. Back then, I wasn't afraid of much. I boxed amateur fights on weekends and worked private security during the week. Pain was familiar. Violence was routine. Fear was something I thought I'd already beaten out of myself. I was wrong. The call came on a Thursday night. One sentence from my boss was enough to make the room go quiet. "We're guarding a funeral tomorrow." We laughed. Because who the hell guards a funeral? Then he told us whose funeral it was. Big Fitz. If you were alive in Dublin in the early 90s, you didn't need a last name. The Fitz family didn't run the city, they infected it. Drugs, weapons, extortion, disappearances. Everyone knew someone who'd crossed them. No one ever knew where those people ended up. Big Fitz was dead, and that meant everyone else was on edge. The house. We weren't stationed at the church. Too public. Too many cameras. Our job was the house. A mansion on the outskirts of Dublin. Stone walls, iron gates, land so wide it swallowed sound. It looked peaceful. That should have been my first warning. We arrived around 11 in the morning. A maid let us in, calm as if she wasn't working for one of the most dangerous families in Ireland. Inside, everything was spotless. Too spotless. The kind of clean that feels temporary. By 11:30, the cars started arriving. Black Range Rovers, tinted windows, engines purring like predators. Grief poured out with them. Women crying. Men stone-faced, all dressed in clothes worth more than my yearly pay. By 2 o'clock, the alcohol came out. Music followed. The morning turned into celebration. Loud, reckless, angry celebration. We relaxed. That was mistake number 2. The first sound. It started with banging. Not inside, outside, sharp, heavy, repeated. The guard covering the back garden came through on the radio. "Someone's at the fence." Then static. Then nothing. I was already running before my brain caught up. When I reached the back, I saw the fence explode inward. A man in black swung a sledgehammer like he'd done it before. Behind him, more shadows. Masks, balaclavas, weapons in their hands. Not one, not two, a dozen. They poured through the gap like something unleashed. That's when fear finally found me. Chaos. We didn't fight. We couldn't. We shouted, dragged people inside, slammed doors, glass shattered, wood cracked, screams rose. The attackers didn't hesitate. They smashed their way into the house like they owned it. Drunk men rushed them, fists against metal, courage against inevitability. I saw one Fitz lad land a solid punch. The masked man dropped. Then 6 more jumped him. They didn't stop when he screamed. They stopped when he stopped moving. Blood coated the floor. People slipped in it. Someone was begging. Someone else was laughing. The attackers moved like a tide, beating, breaking, advancing, and they were heading for the stairs, where the women and children were. The last stand begins. We backed up step by step. I was already thinking how this ends. Then something surreal happened. An old woman, gray hair, shaking hands, opened the master bedroom door. She handed me a weapon, not a gun, a Zulu short spear. Behind her on the bed lay more relics. A samurai sword, a broadsword. Big Fitz had collected weapons meant for war, and now war had come to him. We formed a line on the stairs. I gripped the spear, heart pounding so hard I thought it might give me away. The attackers reached the bottom step. Stopped, stared, because suddenly, this wasn't an easy job anymore. I heard myself shout, voice shaking with rage and terror, "Come up here and I'll skewer you!" They believed me. Onto a man's head. The first object hit the attacker's head with a sound I'll never forget. Not a crack, not a thud, a wet, hollow smash, like hitting a watermelon with a hammer. The man dropped instantly. No scream, no curse, just his body collapsing backward, limbs twitching like a puppet with its strings cut. For half a second, everything froze. Then, the screaming started. Rain. From above, the women had joined the fight. From the landing above us, grief turned into fury. High heels, marble figurines, glass ashtrays, anything heavy, anything sharp. They hurled it all. It rained destruction down the staircase. One attacker tried to drag his unconscious friend away, slipping in blood as another ashtray smashed against his shoulder. He howled, high-pitched and panicked, the sound of a predator realizing it could bleed. That's when I understood something terrifying. These men weren't fearless. They were counting on fear. And suddenly, they didn't have it anymore. The standoff. We held the stairs. Barely. My hands were slick with sweat and someone else's blood. The spear felt heavier every second. One of them raised the sledgehammer, just raised it. That was enough. I knew. One good swing and our line would collapse. Wood, bone, metal, all fragile compared to that thing. But he hesitated, because behind us were screaming women, children crying, and men holding ancient weapons like ghosts pulled from history. No one moved. Time stretched. The only sounds were groans, glass crunching under boots, and the wet breathing of injured men trying not to die. Then someone screamed from the back garden, "Police!" Whether it was true or not didn't matter. Fear makes cowards honest. Retreat. The attackers backed away, slow, careful, dragging the wounded. One of them looked at me as he retreated, eyes visible through the mask. They weren't angry. They were promising. They smashed furniture as they went, kicked bodies that were already broken, a final insult. Then they were gone. And the house looked like a slaughterhouse. Aftermath silence fell wrong. Too heavy, too late. People lay everywhere, broken arms bent the wrong way, teeth scattered across the floor like gravel. One man's eye had been forced out of its socket, dangling by something thin and red. A fellow guard sat against the wall, hands pressed to his head, blood pouring through his fingers. He kept asking me if he was still alive. I didn't answer. I didn't know. The kids stayed upstairs. We tried to keep them from seeing. But you can't hide sound. The screams turned into moans, moans into whispers. By the time the ambulances arrived, painkillers were the only mercy left in the house. Truth comes out. The Gardaí arrived expecting silence. They didn't get it. Everyone talked. Names, details, descriptions. When criminals are wounded badly enough, loyalty becomes optional. One attacker, the man hit by the ashtray, didn't go to hospital right away. Big mistake. The brain injury festered. Seizures started. By the time he staggered into A&E begging for help, he told the doctors everything. Scans were done. Police were called. He was arrested before the swelling in his brain even went down. His gang hired a lawyer, told him to shut up. He didn't. Because brain damage doesn't care about loyalty. He went down alone, and that's when the real horror began. The quiet revenge. 6 months passed. Then bodies started appearing. Alleys, cars, fields outside the city. Not everyone, just the ones who'd been there. No arrests, no witnesses. The Fitz family never claimed anything. They didn't have to. I handed in my notice not long after. I realized something I couldn't unlearn. Some security firms don't protect people. They orbit violence. You can't stand that close to monsters and stay clean. The final truth. I work a quieter job now. I have a family, a life that doesn't smell like blood. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear it. That sound. When the ashtray hit. And I remember something that still chills me. Big Fitz was already dead, and his funeral was still the most violent day of my life. There are moments in life where everything feels normal, right up until it isn't. Moments where, if you'd taken a different turn, asked one less question, or trusted your gut just a little earlier, you might still sleep peacefully at night. This story begins on one of those nights. The driver. In 1991, I was 24 years old and driving a cab in Modesto, California. I wasn't proud of where I came from. The 80s had chewed up most of my friends. Jail, graves, disappearances. So I cleaned myself up. Got a cab job. Honest money. Long hours. Most passengers were boring, some were funny, a few were dangerous. I thought I'd seen them all. I was wrong. The girl on the road. It was August 2nd. Around 8:30 p.m., the sun had just dipped below the horizon, and Friday night energy was settling into the city. Drunk voices, flashing headlights, bad decisions loading up like a gun. That's when I saw her. A girl standing by the roadside. Thumb out. Alone. Hitchhiking at night. That alone should have been a red flag. I pulled over and honked, planning to warn her more than anything. She walked up to my window fast, eyes red, face tight like she'd been crying for hours. Before I could speak, she said, "I don't have any money, I really need a ride." Her voice was shaking. So instead of driving off, I unlocked the door. That decision almost got me killed. A free ride. She climbed into the back seat and thanked me like I'd just saved her life. She said she needed to go to the airport. I told her my name, asked hers. She hesitated, then gave me one. I won't repeat it. Some names don't deserve remembering. The story. As we drove, I asked if she was okay. She said she'd just broken up with her boyfriend of 3 years. Said she was flying to Florida to stay with her grandparents. She talked slow at first, like the words hurt coming out. College, moving across the country, falling in love. Then the change. Her boyfriend became impatient, mean, controlling. Fights turned weekly, then violent. That word, violent, landed heavy. She said the last fight ended badly, really badly. She packed her bags and ran. The first warning. I asked if she wanted to go to the hospital. She said no. I asked if she wanted to call the cops. Her answer was immediate. No. Too fast, too desperate. I told her it was important to report abuse, even just to have it on record. Her voice snapped. Just take me to the airport. That's when the hairs on my neck stood up. Cracks in the story. I tried to reassure her. Said the cops understand self-defense. She muttered. They won't see it that way. When I asked why, she turned cold. Because they won't, all right? Then softer. I'm begging you. I stayed quiet for a bit, then said something I shouldn't have. He's not going to get away with hurting you. She replied calmly. He's not going to do anything anymore. Those words didn't sound like relief. They sounded final. The truth creeps in. I felt it then. That heavy, sinking realization. This wasn't a girl running from abuse. This was someone running from consequences. I told her carefully that if she'd done something serious, I couldn't help. I said, if she'd hurt him badly, I had to let her out of the cab. That's when I heard it. A soft rustle. Fabric moving. Then, click. A sound every cab driver knows. A gun being cocked. The gun. I saw it in the rearview mirror. Her hand came up, black metal, pointed straight at me. She spoke softly, tears back in her voice. Just take me to the airport. Please don't make me do anything. I didn't say another word, because suddenly, I understood something terrifying. This girl wasn't afraid anymore. She was in control. The rest of the drive felt unreal. Like my body was moving, but my mind was watching from somewhere else. I didn't speak. I didn't look back. I just drove. The ride of silence. The city lights blurred past the windshield. Every red light felt like a trap. Every slow driver felt like a death sentence. I kept thinking about the man she said wouldn't do anything anymore. I imagined him alone on a kitchen floor, bleeding, confused, maybe dead. And now, here I was, delivering his killer to freedom. My stomach twisted. But fear keeps your morals quiet. Near the airport. When the airport lights finally appeared, relief washed over me so hard my eyes burned. I thought it was over. I was wrong. She leaned forward. "Stop here," she said. We weren't at the terminal. We were off to the side. Dark. Empty. I stopped. Then she told me to turn off the engine and hand over my keys. The moment I tried to reason with her, told her I needed the cab to work, told her I had kids, I didn't. But desperation makes liars. She didn't care. She snapped. Her voice exploded with rage about men controlling women, about never letting it happen again. Then she pressed the gun to my head. Not pointed. Pressed. The cold metal dug into my temple so hard it hurt. "Give me the keys," she whispered. "Or you're not going home tonight." I believed her. Letting go, I handed them over. She took them. Calm now. Like nothing had happened. She stepped out of the cab, dragged her suitcase behind her, and walked toward the terminal. I watched until she disappeared. Then my body collapsed in on itself. I didn't cry. I shook. Calling for help. I walked toward the payphones, glancing over my shoulder the whole time, hands trembling. I called 911, told them everything. They came quickly, too quickly, because by the time they arrived, she was gone. Gone. She bought the first ticket out, dumped the gun somewhere. My keys were never found. I had to jumpstart my cab just to get home. The company took weeks to replace the key. Weeks I spent replaying her voice in my head. That calm, that control. The real horror. I kept thinking, if she could flip like that, if she could point a gun at a stranger without blinking, how many warning signs did her boyfriend ignore? Or did he see them all too late? I don't know what happened to her. I don't want to. Some doors are better left closed. Final thought. I still drive past the airport sometimes. Every hitchhiker looks dangerous now. Every crying voice sounds rehearsed. And I learned something I'll never forget. Sometimes the scariest monsters don't chase you. They sit quietly in the back seat and ask politely for a ride. When you're young, you believe uniforms mean safety. Badges mean rules. Rules mean control. That belief didn't survive my first year in the Army. Leaving home. In 1999, I was 18 and desperate to escape rural Ontario. I didn't want the mill. Didn't want the plow. Didn't want a life where every year looked exactly like the last. So I joined the Army. People back home said it would make a man out of me. Give me discipline. Purpose. They were half right. It gave me discipline. What it took away was innocence. Training. Basic training was hell, but honest hell. Shouting, exhaustion, cold mornings where your bones felt hollow. Still, it made sense. You suffer together. You earn trust. By the time I finished, I believed in the system. Believed someone always had your back. That belief lasted right up until the night exercise. The assignment. We were sent out for a training operation in a heavily wooded area, hours from base. No towns, no lights, just forest, fog, and silence. The scenario was simple. Patrol, establish a temporary position, hold until morning. There were 6 of us, all young, all tired. The radio worked. That was important, or so we thought. Something in the woods. It started after midnight, a sound that didn't belong, not an animal. Too deliberate. Footsteps, slow, measured. We froze. Our sergeant whispered that it was probably another unit trying to mess with us. That explanation didn't sit right, because whoever it was circling us. The first breakdown. We radioed command. Static. Tried again. Nothing. Then we heard a voice. Male. Calm. Too calm. You boys are a long way from home. Every hair on my body stood up. That voice didn't come from any direction I could place. It felt like it was everywhere. Panic sets. And one of the guys laughed nervously, said it was instructors trying to scare us. Then the flashlight clicked on. For half a second we saw him, a man standing just beyond the tree line. No uniform, no insignia, just watching. Then the light went dead. Realization. That's when our sergeant said something that changed everything. That's not ours. And in that moment, standing in the freezing dark, surrounded by trees and unseen footsteps, I understood something terrifying. We weren't being tested. We were being hunted. The laughter came through the radio again. Not loud, not distorted, clear, as if the man holding the mic was standing right beside us. The radio lie. "Command, this is Echo 3, our sergeant said, forcing his voice steady. "Identify yourself." Static. Then breathing, slow, deliberate. And then a voice that didn't belong to any officer I'd ever heard. "You shouldn't use that thing out here." The radio went dead. No signal, no response, just silence. And the forest, suddenly alive. The circle titan's branches snapped around us. Not rushed, not clumsy. Whoever it was knew how to move. We formed a tight defensive circle, rifles raised, fingers shaking. Near triggers we were praying we wouldn't have to pull. The sergeant whispered orders, but I could hear the doubt bleeding through. Training tells you fear is noise. This wasn't noise. This was pressure. The man without a face. The flashlight flickered back on. This time he was closer. Too close. I saw boots, civilian, mud-covered, then a jacket. Old, worn. When the light reached his face, I wish it hadn't, because there was nothing wrong with it. No scars, no madness, just a calm expression, like we were interrupting his evening walk. He smiled. The light died again. Breaking point one of the guys whispered that this wasn't part of any exercise. Another started crying, quietly. The sergeant made a call then. Not to advance, not to pursue, to retreat. We moved, slow, together. That's when the voice came from behind us. You leave now, and you won't come back. We froze, because the voice came from the exact direction we were walking toward. Surrounded, I realized something sickening. He wasn't alone. We heard footsteps everywhere now, close, far, above us on a slope, but we only ever saw him. One man, always just out of reach, always smiling. Assiscarita the order that saved us. The sergeant broke protocol. He fired a shot into the air. The crack echoed like thunder. Silence followed. Then movement. Fast this time. Running. Branches snapping. Gone. Dawn. We didn't sleep. We didn't move. When the sun finally crept through the trees, the forest looked harmless again. Too harmless. Command finally reached us mid-morning. No instructors, no scheduled drills in our area, no civilians logged nearby. When we described the man, they went quiet. The unwritten rule. Back at base, we were told to forget it. No report, no investigation, just a warning, oh, some places don't belong to anyone. And then this. If you see him again, leave. Final truth. I stayed in the Army a while longer, but something had changed. I learned that authority can vanish, that uniforms don't protect you, and that some men don't wear insignia because they don't answer to anyone. Closing line. To this day, when I walk through dense woods at night, I listen, because sometimes the forest isn't empty, it's waiting.